Hey friends, Frankie and Brad here in Casper's Kitchen where we cook music. Today we're going to continue on in the segment Did You Know? We're going into the 80s where I think we're talking about some heavy hitter guitar players. Brad, kick us off with Randy Rhoads.
Randy Rhoads, very young, very talented, played way beyond his years, was actually, I believe, instrumental in making Ozzy viable and popular again, second time around.
Yeah, absolutely. Didn't he play with Quiet Riot?
Randy actually put out 2 records with Quiet Riot. They were released in Japan only. Not many people have heard those. I actually have a copy of one of them. They're very good, but actually Randy, his songwriting and Ozzy's ability to write lyrics and melody just fit perfect.
He was an extraordinary guitarist. A lot of classical stuff.
Yes. Randy was actually a teacher at his mother's school in California, and he was classically trained. So he used a lot of those classical runs in his guitar leads that had never been done before. So very innovative.
Gary Hoey, he's somebody that we both remember back in the day. Certainly one of those guitar players that falls under the radar. What do you know about
Gary Hoey? He was very unique in taking a song like Wipeout and bringing it up to date in a metal style. He did a lot of old songs like that, kind of like the Rick Dale of back that did the surf music.
Right.
He kind of brought that scene back up, but in a heavier format. Gary was very, very good at what he did, and I believe I own 4 or 5 of his CDs, and they're all very good.
Yeah, in fact, talking about Gary, his style reminds me a little bit of Eric Johnson. Eric Johnson, I know, is among your favorites.
Yes.
Certainly, wow, such a technical player. You've seen Eric Johnson.
I've seen Eric 5 times and actually met him on 3 of those occasions. Just a genuinely nice guy. You know, there's a lot of guitar players that play fast, and that's always impressive. But Eric has a way of using his rhythm styles that go all over the place, from jazz to classical. It's just amazing to watch him play rhythm as it is to watch him play lead.
I was fortunate enough to see him in Dallas once, and he was, like you said, just mind-boggling. He will humble you.
Oh, yes.
Somebody I'm going to throw out there that I'm a big fan of, John Petrucci. I think John Petrucci is one of the most technical guitarists out there. Plays with Dream Theater. Certainly respected among the best.
If you're a guitar player, you know who John Petrucci is. And Dream Theater, they don't sound like Yes, but they're kind of in that vein where they do a lot of long songs that probably why they don't get a lot of airplay.
I agree.
But just very technical, very, very smooth. Just a great guitar player.
I was lucky enough to see Petrucci with G3 with Satriani and Steve Vai, and he held his own with them. And I think moving on, Steve Vai certainly someone that we've got to throw out there is one of the greatest guitar players of the 80s, both with technique and designing foot pedals and different types of guitars. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that Steve Vai took guitar lessons from Joe Satriani. They were very close, lived really close to each other, and those two were very close in the way they played and the path they took.
Certainly, and it's hard to mention Steve Vai without mentioning Joe Satriani. I mean, they play together just about non-stop on tour, best of friends. Satriani, who also now is playing with Sammy Hagar, and just one of the greatest guitar players ever, and one of the very few that actually had a real big hit album of just instrumentals. Moving on, I'm going to mention Rick Emmett of Triumph.
Yeah.
Rick Emmett is without a doubt my favorite guitarist. He can play jazz, folk, heavy metal, rock, blues, does them all perfectionally, has an army of guitars. Triumph was a three-man band, very much like Yes from Canada, and a well-respected guitarist, out there among guitar players. Got anything you want to add, Brett?
Triumph and Rush were the two Canadian bands. I guess you could say the Guess Who, but Triumph and Rush were more, I'm not going to say they were alike, but each one being a three-man setup, and they both put out some great music.
Very much so. We're going to move on to Danny Gatton. Danny Gatton is somebody we both have an enormous amount of respect for. I first discovered him, Robert Gordon was a rockabilly player, much like the Stray Cats 10 or 15 years before them, and Danny Gatton replaced Link Wray as his guitar player for 2 albums, and he was just mind-boggling, just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, guitar player Jeff Beck called Danny Gatton the greatest guitar player you've never heard of. Jeff was a huge fan of Danny Gatton, would try to align his tour dates to where he could actually go see him play. So he was a huge fan. The first album I heard by Danny Gatton was called Unfinished Business. I was blown away. The guy's incredible.
He could play so many different styles, anything from country to rock, just amazing. And unfortunately, he committed suicide. I think dealt with depression.
Yep, he sure did.
Moving on, certainly moving on to a heavy hitter, Eddie Van Halen.
Eddie Van Halen. People always associate Eddie Van Halen with that tapping style that he had, but he says, I read that in an interview that he said he got that from Alan Holdsworth, another great session guitar player who did not like to go on the road, but played with literally everybody. Eddie said he took what he learned from Alan Holdsworth and kind of made it his own. But
yeah, when we did our video a while back, 10 guitar players that were a cut above, a lot of the comments were people who said we needed to mention Alan Holdsworth.
Alan Holdsworth.
He was certainly one of those guys. And Eddie Van Halen, I mean, I guess the thing that impressed me the most when I first saw Van Halen is from that point on, the tremolo bar was called the whammy bar, but he did things with the whammy bar that I had just never seen, and it made me go out and take my Gibson Explorer and have a Floyd Rose put on it, and I'm still trying to learn to play. We're going to move on to a little rockabilly. Brian Setzer, kick us off.
Oh yeah, Brian Setzer. If you took all the great guitar players from the 50s and put them into one, it would be Brian Setzer, because he literally learned all these guys' techniques and then sprinkled some of his own creativity, and he is a master at playing that 50s style guitar.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to see the Stray Cats when they first came out, and then I saw them after they broke up. They got back together for a reunion tour, and I saw that, and it was just incredible. And I love those old Gretsch guitars. And Brian Setzer certainly is a showstopper, and went on. Now he's playing swing music. I mean, what can't this guy do? Just
he can do anything.
Amazing. We're going to talk a little about the Damn Yankees. Great guitar players in that band. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, you had Ted Nugent, started out with the Amboy Dukes in the late 60s. Honestly, I thought that Ted Nugent's guitar work in Damn Yankees was probably his best. You had Tommy Shaw, singer, songwriter, great guitar player in his own right. Jack Blades played bass.
Good singer.
Yes, and a very good singer. And the drummer's name, who escapes me right now, but he has played with several other people. The whole band was guys from other groups who were all just top-notch at what they did.
They were certainly one of the best super groups, I think, that came out in the 80s. We're going to close with a guy that I keep calling a young guy. He's not young anymore. Joe Bonamassa. I remember this guy as a 15-year-old kid. Early in years as a teenager, he was opening for B.B. King, Aerosmith, and one of the greatest guitar collectors on earth. And he can just literally play anything. Certainly a master. Tell us what you know about Joe.
Joe Bonamassa is, like you say, he started very young. I believe his father owned a music store.
Correct, that's true.
And he kind of grew up in the music scene his whole life, had access to guitars and other guitar players who he obviously soaked up all that knowledge. You can't go wrong with anything Joe Bonamassa puts out.
That's true. He can play so many different styles of music. One that comes to mind, he did I think 4 sets years back of different types of music in possibly different countries, but one of them he played with a cello player, an Asian cello player, and it was just amazing. He did note for note leads on the guitar that she did with cello. But Joe is an amazing guy, and as a collector, when he buys from people, he pays premium price.
Yep.
There's a story where recently some lady had a valuable guitar that she was wanting to sell very cheaply, and someone contacted Joe, and he called her up and said, "Let me tell you that guitar's worth far more than you want. Let me give you the proper value of that guitar." So he's definitely a stand-up guy. And, we're going to close with that. That's our 80s segment, and we're going to end the Did You Know with the 80s, because from this point on, I think guitar playing hasn't really evolved that much.
It has not.
You've just got more of the same.
Yeah. There's not as many young people wanting to play guitar anymore. I think they'd rather play the video game than the actual guitar.
Good point. Let us know what you think. Let us know people that you think we missed. As always, we want to appreciate your time. And one last thing, Brad and I are at the point that we really need some subscribers. If you would subscribe to our site, it can help us grow. We're getting commercials on our videos now, but we're not getting the revenue from those commercials. And if we can pick up a few more subscribers, who knows, maybe we can afford to buy a McDonald's burger or something. But again, as always, thanks for your time and have a great day.